What happens when a low-end company wants to compete with the big boys? After this. All right, well, I got my email gets flooded with fishing stuff, and Tackle Direct threw something in there, and then all of a sudden something popped up at Tackle Direct, and I was like, what in the world is that about? Now, a few years ago, I was a influencer for Kastking, and I owned a bunch of Kastking stuff, and a lot of it I enjoyed, and a lot of it stunk. Their slogan was, what was their slogan? Been a long time. But basically, they give you more for your money. Making fishing more affordable. That's what it is. That's what it was. Making fishing more affordable. That was their thing. The most expensive reel back then was the Crixus Armor X. This reel. This was their high-end reel. This was $90. And you know what? It's a good reel. I wouldn't buy it because it has a design flaw in it. Because that's the reason why it's not on any of my rods. But this was the best that they made for $90. Most of their stuff was around $50, $60. I keep pretty good care of my reel, so it still runs really good. It just has a design flaw in it. So, Tackle Direct, send me this email. Pop it up, and on the bottom, reels start flowing across. And I saw this Kastking reel, $350. Now, I know Kastking is trying to compete with Shimano, Daiwa, Abu Garcia, stuff like that, because they came out with this Kestrel BFS for $210. And it was a knockoff on the Shimano Curado braking system. They basically stole the idea from them, and which annoyed me. And yet they had the gall and the audacity to charge $10 more than the Curado. I mean, which one would you buy, Kastking or a Shimano? Kind of a given, right? Definitely buy the Shimano. It's a better reel design, better bearings in it, just a better reel. Then I saw this $350 one. and it's got digital chips in it that has Bluetooth technology to relay to your phone an app that tells you the casting distance and reel in speed and the casting speed. And you know what? You know what fishing is? Fishing is getting in touch with nature again. That's what fishing is. Fishing is the tactile part of nature. It's person against nature. It's a fight. It's outwitting. It's thinking. My brain, not my smartphone. $350 for a stupid reel that tells your phone what you're doing in your hand. It's just dumb. They missed the point. For one thing, Kastking was supposed to make fishing more affordable. And I was part of the company back then. When I started finding some flaws in their product, they and I parted ways. Again, this was the best. This was their best back then. Now their best is this $350 electronic gadget that you got to charge every once in a while through the USB, only if it's dry and blah 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 blah. And they are, how do I say this nicely? They're out of their league. They're just out of their league. And maybe they've gotten too full of themselves, thinking their BFS was better than Shimano's or Daiwa's. Maybe they're a little too full of themselves, thinking we can make this for the geek. Well, geeks spend time on the computer. They don't spend time at the lake. And the harder you make it for guys my age to enjoy fishing, it's just dumb. We want to enjoy fishing. We want a reel that is light, comfortable, and that allows us to fish all day long. And that has strengths. So when we catch something, it won't break. A line guide that doesn't screw up on a worm gear. This one does. This one's got a... And they made an affordable BFS, the Zephyr. I owned it, of course. And for a while it was really good until a design flaw popped up in it. There was a gap in between the spool and the housing that caught the 2-pound test. And it would catch in there and backlash, and it was useless the rest of the day. This one's design flaw is the guide and the relationship between the guide and the worm gear. It's a well-made piece, except for that. Okay, if that flaw wasn't there, I'd still be using this. Would be on a rod, only because it is actually a pretty well-made piece. But so is the Zephyr. It only requires one small failure in order to ruin your day fishing. Kastking seems to find that out. They seem to give us that one small failure, whether it be in the Zephyr, be in the Crixus, or whatever else. I wouldn't have, and all their line breaks. Worst fishing line on the market. And I've used all of it. $350. So you can go to your app and tell you details that, to be honest, you would care less about. But you already know it. When I cast this, I know how far it's going. I really don't care how many miles per hour it goes going out to it. I don't care about that. What in the world are they thinking? And then you got to charge it only when it's dry. It's just, what are they thinking? They're not. Fishing is all about connecting with nature, not with... You don't want to think about your reel. You don't want to think about your rod. To be honest, once you do that well, it's out of mind. It's all about that bait going into the water, teasing the fish, hooking the fish, and bringing it in. The rod and the reel are not what you're thinking about when you're fishing. And you shouldn't be thinking about it when you're fishing. When I fish, I do thousands of casts a day. In 12 hours, I do a ton of casting. How often do I think about this? Unless I have something like this that I'm worried about it not spooling evenly and then catching on itself. Backlashes. It works really good for about a half hour. It's a great rod reel for a half hour. And then it backlashes because of the uneven wind. And then they knocked off the Daiwa's T-wing. That type of idea of the guide being wide and then being small. The T-wing goes vertical and flips back and forth. Theirs does this. And it was the same thing. Kastking doesn't come up with original stuff mostly. They just look at everybody else and then they knock it off. And that's kind of what happens with a lot of Chinese companies. I don't know what's going on in their heads. Buy a high quality product that you don't have to think about. It's as simple as that. The more I have to focus on this, the less enjoyment I have about catching a fish. If this distracts me, either by backlashing or by not winding right, or a spool that catches the line in it, if I have to worry about that, I'm losing some of the enjoyment of fishing. That's why I don't use this one. And the Zephyrs that went to the bottom of the lake. This company has lost focus. If they wanted to make fishing more affordable, they should do what Pissy Fun does. Pissy Fun makes fishing more affordable. Because they still give you a quality product that doesn't screw up. And yet they do it for an affordable price. That was Kastking's original intent, and I liked that about them. That's why, I became part of their company. But they lost focus. They started getting full of themselves, and they started thinking, we're just as good, if not better, than these big dogs on the market like Shimano, Daiwa, Abu Garcia, Luz, and those companies. They have their world, those companies do, and then Kastking had their world, and now they're trying to do this. If you pay $350 for a Kastking, you got more dollars and cents, in my opinion. You really should. I mean, I'm about to spend $400 on a reel, and that's definitely a Shimano, and it'll be a BFS, the Aldebaran or the Conquest. Haven't quite figured that one out yet. But those reels, Japanese made, best bearings in the business, best bodies in the business, those are worth it. This was worth $90 back then, to a point. If this didn't have this design flaw in it, it'd still be worth $90 today. And then they put this stupid bar in front of the adjustment screw. So basically, if you needed to try to fix this, I'd have to completely tear it apart. And then I wouldn't be sure if I'd be able to fix this, but I'd keep it around because one day I might want to just try to do it, because it's, I do like the reel. I just don't like what it does. Again, if I have to think about the reel, I'm not enjoying the fishing. And if you've got this electronics doohickey thingy that has to be charged and stuff like that, you're thinking more about this than that. You just are. Anyway, I was just shocked when I saw that just now. $350 for a Kastking? What in the world? Keep it simple. You remember the saying KISS? Keep it simple, stupid? It's pretty much what you got to do. You just keep it simple. Sooner or later, it's in the hands of the fishermen. So they can say, they have this one reel. It says, never backlashes. Well, that's a lie. All reels backlash. Even a Steez, which is $700, I could get it to backlash. Every reel can backlash. We have control, and that's the beauty of fishing, is that no matter how good our reels are, our skill set still has to be there in order to cast it and work the rod. So we buy really good stuff, just get a better experience that way and get our mind off of this. But you're still riding, you're still braking it with your thumb. You're still adjusting your brakes. You're still adjusting your tension. You're still adjusting your drag. That's okay. Again, you're having fun because your ability is against that fish's ability, not an iPad in a reel. I mean, one day, what are you going to do? You're just going to grab, be able to buy a rod and a reel and just put it in a holder and let it do its thing. It'll cast for you. It'll catch for you. All right. Some people may want that. They're not fishermen. They're just not. A fisherman requires skill. $350 for an integrated circuit board Bluetooth app thing that requires charging. Now that's funny. So let's watch the funny intro because I do this, and I should be doing this when it comes to casting.